I
want to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for July the 19th, 2016. Our first items will be recognition of a few items by our mayor.
Thank you, Derek. And with Black Music Month, we are going to call up those folks who were volunteers to help the Gap Band concert happen a few weeks ago. It was a tremendous event. It was extremely well attended, and I think if you drove out there like I did to attend, and I was amazed at the number of vehicles that were there and the number of people that were there. And what an event! Cassandra Gaines helped coordinate the event, and the following volunteers. And then I'm going to read everybody's name, and then if you are here and you would like, we would do a group photograph up here with council.
I think we have certificates for everybody as well.
Oh, okay. And we either have certificates or you have the certificates already in your hand, maybe. Pat Acebo, Faye Abernathy, Howard Abernathy, Dante Banks, Darla Bennett, Deanne Bronin, Estella Kane, Jerry Kane. Yeah, go right ahead and come up if you'd like, and we'll just kind of gather right around here. Quentin Kane, Jackie Casey, Adam Colbert, Alan Dawson, Chad Farmer, Bare Bones Films, Philip Flannery, Steve Fletcher, Amberly Gaskins, Ernest Grayson, Angela Jones, Melissa Jones, Kim Lynch, Amy Lynn, Alice McBride, Derek Reed, Ren Stratton, Eric Stroshin, Sprocket Telephone, Edwina Walker, Chelsea White, Cheryl White, Vanessa Fisher. And then if council would join me, we will appreciate them and do a group photograph. Thank you.
I'm coming.
call your name.
Yes. Oh, everybody gets a hug. What are we going to do? I guess we need to sort of do it like this. Yeah, we need to definitely sort of. This half come right here. All in the back. I'm going to go stand by Steve. I'm gonna stand back here by y'all guys. If you don't mind.
Can you guys reach in the marks? I could. Any more? Patrick, can you come back here? Right in here. And then
Martin, you're gonna need to stand in front.
So, 9:30.
Back here, hold on. Hurry up. Just a second for Sandra to hurry into this way. Chris, I need to get on my 10 toes so you can see me. Yeah, just a little bit. Okay.
Come at the end.
He said, Patrick, don't worry about flying now because I got God on my side. And I said, well, is he on your right or left? Because I'm going to sit right across. And he didn't go.
I'm sick.
Well, you go tomorrow. Makeup day.
No, I can't do that.
Bruce, I think we're waiting on a video. I think we wanted the video now.
So
Oh my God, where's God?
I was so sick. We don't have another one? Yes.
Oh, the night.
The video they're going to show is related to the first.
Oh, okay, all right.
You know I had to be sick.
We've got a short video to show of the Gap Band concert, and Bruce is back there going like this and moving his hands, and I'm assuming it's going to
Miraculously
come up here in just a
appear.
moment. There we go.
I don't hear anything.
It takes the whole community to work together. It takes the whole community to work together. And all the t-shirts that you see here, those are my volunteers. But we also have, where's Miss Kim Lynch? I cannot leave her out. And her and Adam, and Chad Farmer, and all, Philip Flannery. Come on, let's give them all. Some of these are city workers, but on their time, they made sure that things was taken care of. They made sure. The Gap Band is coming, honey. Give them time. But next year,
Governor could not be with us this evening, but she brought something very exciting. This is the official proclamation from Governor Mary Fallin. Now, therefore, I, Mary Fallin, Governor, do hereby proclaim from June 2016 as African American Music Appreciation Month.
And grandchildren. Now, therefore, on behalf of the mayor of the city of Muskogee, we do hereby proclaim June 2016 as African American Music Appreciation Month. In witness thereto, sign this day, Mayor Bob Coburn. Give the city of Muskogee and African Americans everywhere a great big round of applause.
Mr. Tucker was just telling me we had 568 vehicles counted that night, and I'm thinking there had to be at least 11 people in every car. It was hugely attended and extremely successful. We also now have some recognitions for people for their years of service with the city that are retiring. Can we have come forward, please, and we will present plaques, recognition to you for Barry Harris, Randy Rowland, Todd Lacey, Kenton Huey, Betty Davis. If those of you would come forward, the council and I will meet you down front, and we'll present gifts of appreciation to you. If you are here and these people are working within your department in the city, Chief Eskridge and Chief Odell would please come and join us. Thank you all. Okay. Randy Rowland, first one. Second one, Kenton Huey. That'd be the person with the largest smile. Congratulations. Thanks for your years with the city of Muskogee. Todd Lacey. Betty Davis. Michael Mahan is not here. Barry Harris. Is Barry Harris here? Okay. It's all right. Thank you so much for your years with the city. And if you'd go around, we'd like to shake your hand and say thank you again. This is the norm, yeah. We've got to have a group hug. Congratulations to you all. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We'll go ahead with item number 1, please.
Consider approval of the Finance Committee minutes of July 5th, 2016.
After reviewing the minutes, are there any corrections?
Move for approval. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Kale,
Yes.
Marlon Coleman,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Derek Reed,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 1 passed. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments from June 29, 2016 to July 13, 2016.
Do we have a report from anyone from the purchasing committee?
Purchasing committee met today, and we reviewed the claims, and we moved for the acceptance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Kale,
Yes.
Marlon Coleman,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Derek Reed,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 2 passed. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of change order number 1 to the contract with Warfeather LLC for the Muskogee Downtown Gateways project in the amount of $47,898.46 for revising connection details and drawings on the Columbus Street overpass or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes, I'm going to have Mr. Mahajan come up. He's got a 5 or 6 slide PowerPoint he's going to show you, and he's going to explain this to you.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the committee. This is one of our flagships on the Downtown Gateways project. Just wanted to let you show. This was the original presented rendering, and as you see, the arches resting on the top of the beam. And this item was bid as it's shown here. But since there's a state highway which passes through the below the bridge, we had taken it to ODOT for their review and approval process. So they have a more stringent and a higher standard of process of design criteria, which is the AASHTO design, and they use the AASHTO standards. They recommended the AASHTO standards to us to revise the design, and which we did, which extended those beams down there, and also in the next, these are the design changes there, which extend the beam, and it goes below the beam of the bridge too. And there are two supports, one on top of the beam and one's below there too, which makes the structure more safe, and which we all would like to see. And to incorporate all these, we had to go back to the drawing board, get those details changed, and refabricate, get these things not refabricated but redesigned basically to get to make it more safer for our public. So, and the ODOT has it in their process, and what we are seeking approval today is that approval of change order contingent upon ODOT approval.
Remind them of the funding too, please.
Funding is the City of Muskogee Foundation, and the total grant we received was $750,000, and the contract came in at $700,460, and the contract change order is $47,000 approximately, and so we are well within the budget.
What about the aesthetics? I understand the safety aspect, but what is it going to actually look like?
Quite
It's still
similar
going to
to
look
that.
like this?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I would like to add to this just very briefly, because we're on the Gateway project, that we do have an issue with powering the other gateway signs in the community. I want to personally thank Morris Baxter for stepping out and really working diligently to help us come up with some solutions. If you'll remember, when we originally bid this project, there was a $400,000 line item for powering these gateway signs. Morris has worked with Gary Garvin, myself, Prague, our contractor, and we've come up with some solutions to power them. 3rd and Columbus, 3rd and Broadway, I think we're going to be able to power without any expenditure at all. 3rd and Broadway may be a slight expense, but really very minimal. Cherokee, 9th and Okmulgee, and 2nd and Denison, again, a minimal cost. We're hoping that we'll get out under $20,000, which is a big difference from that $400,000 that was budgeted. Now, that is not part of what is in front of you, nor is it part of the budget that's in front of you. We're going to have to go after that extra 20 from somewhere, but looks like we will be able to get 3rd and Columbus and 3rd and Broadway powered without any expense, and we'll work on that first. So thanks to Morris and Gary and the rest of them for working so diligently on that.
Do we have any additional questions? Seeking for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this item.
That is contingent upon state approval, too, on this motion. I don't know, I didn't quite hear that, so.
Prog mentioned that when he was asking for
Contingent
the
upon
motion.
state approval. Yes, sir.
Do we need to add that to the motion? Okay.
You moved approval, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And that was what his recommendation was.
All right. Roll call, please.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Thank you. Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 3 passed. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of a contract with the University of Oklahoma Institute for Quality Communities in the amount of $29,500 to prepare a master plan for downtown Muskogee and authorize the city manager to execute said contract and take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, city staff has been working with the University of Oklahoma Institute of Quality Communities about preparing a master plan for downtown Muskogee. We met with OU on a couple of times, and basically the first meeting was to discuss what the city was requesting, what we needed. The second meeting was to give OU an opportunity to talk with city staff and to talk with some of the downtown stakeholders. Also to take a tour of the downtown area. After those meetings, OU did submit a proposal. The proposal states that they will assemble a team of faculty, staff, students from OU Urban Design Studio and Institute of Quality Communities to conduct a planning process here in Muskogee. Now, the scope of work will consist of 4 primary tasks. And here in a few minutes, I'll ask Sean Schaefer with OU to come up and go over the process and the scope of work. Now, as far as cost is concerned, this was not a budgeted item. The total cost of the agreement is $29,500. However, it is going to be paid for out of the funding that the city has budgeted for DMI. Now, DMI's board did meet, and they did recommend to support this project and for the city to encumber the money from their budget to pay for the project. As far as the term of the agreement, it extends from August the 1st, 2016 until April the 30th, 2017. which will include the fall 2016 semester and the spring 2017 semester. This time I'd ask Sean with OU to come up and go over the process and scope of work.
Thank you, Gary. Good afternoon, members of the council, mayor, city manager Tucker. Let me just begin by saying I really want to thank you for considering working with the University of Oklahoma, College of Architecture, Institute for Quality Communities, and the Urban Design Studio. My name is Sean Schaefer. I'm the director of the Urban Design Studio. We do this sort of service learning project with our students every year, where we involve graduate and undergraduate students in the College of Architecture to work with communities around the state to improve those communities and do planning and urban development projects such as yours. So the scope of this project would be to conduct a master plan for downtown Muskogee and look at all the different development opportunities and pressures in the community. We are proposing to work on this for 2 semesters that we typically work on the academic calendar. The first thing we would do, starting at the end of August, is to put together a strategy for community engagement. So we would like to have a steering committee that would meet with us regularly and guide the process, that would include representation from the city of Muskogee, the various departments, the community groups such as Downtown Muskogee Incorporated, AIM, the chamber, any other stakeholders that might be appropriate for that sort of committee. We come up with a strategy that is multifaceted, so we would have opportunities for citizens and businesses to interact with the design team in charrettes or workshops. We would also have regular meetings with the steering committee. We would have some sort of web presence, a wiki or a website, so citizens that maybe couldn't come to meetings could keep track of the process while it's going on, and provide input, leave comments, that sort of thing. The community engagement process is very important, and we would continue that throughout the entire process. I want to say that I think Gary has done a really good job of bringing together the stakeholders, and I commend your community for being so forward-thinking and really ready for this kind of activity. We would begin the project with analysis and inventory of the downtown area. We would use our geographic information system to make maps. We would collect input from the different stakeholder groups. We would look at all of the existing projects that are underway, such as the gateways that you were just discussing, as well as things that are planned, so that we can get a good idea of what is going on, so we can coordinate those and connect those into a coordinated plan. From there, we would move into a design and visioning activity. We know there are several issues to look at, so we would definitely probably do some scenario planning for the Arrowhead Mall, the Main Street area, and the downtown streetscaping improvements, mobility and access, open space, and other things as they would be identified by the stakeholder groups. We would work with Gary then in the spring term to bring the project to a conclusion and produce a written report that could be adopted by this body and the Planning Commission for use. So that is an overview of what we're proposing, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have for me.
One of my questions is, how successful has this been with other cities within Oklahoma as far as the work that you all have done already?
So we've been working on projects like these. I've been working on them for 16 years. The Institute has done many different projects. We did one that your assistant city manager, Mike Miller, he must have stepped out, but he was with the city of Shawnee. That was a very similar plan to this that was adopted and has helped with the revitalization and redevelopment in Shawnee. A couple of years ago, we did one in the city of Tulsa for 11th Street for Route 66. And there's a new commission in Tulsa to implement that and further that process. Like most plans, I would say some of our things have gone forth and been adopted and or implemented, and other things are still awaiting to be developed. That's sort of the way plans are adopted and implemented.
So sometime in the near future, can you provide us with some samples of the work and the outcomes that you've done with other cities so we can have something to look at too?
Sure. Yeah, I can provide those for Gary. Some of them are on our website already.
Mm-hmm. And how does this impact the work that DMI was going to do with Mr. Drake?
Actually, I believe they would go hand in hand. One thing, Ron has worked with them before in the past, so I think this goes hand in hand. And we were looking at, I really appreciate the city council making the investment in downtown Muskogee and setting aside $45,000 for the investment in downtown Muskogee, because it's the heart of our community. And I can't think of a better investment than spending this funding to look at the vision and planning the future for our downtown than doing a master plan. We had wrote a grant for a master plan. For one of our goals was doing a master plan for downtown Muskogee, because that's setting a guide or a vision for downtown Muskogee. So to have somebody as to the caliber of OU and their architectural department to do a master plan and to be involved, I think it brings into light right on the tail of the AIM project where we involved our citizens and our community. I think the time is just perfect where we, right after AIM, we bring in a project like this and we focus in and AIM right on our downtown. So I think it leads right into and it will enhance what we're also doing with Ron Drake. So I think the stars are aligned for our downtown at moving forward.
I was going to ask Mr. Tucker if there's a possible way when we do the motion. I know that there's a lot of interest in making certain that we do what we need to do downtown. That's been a cry for a long time from our residents. But I also know that what they would like to see is some teeth that we can put to some of the studies once we have them completed. Is there a way that we can add language into the motion that we take subsequent action once the study is done so that we can be certain that we continuously look into this so it's not just another study that sits on the shelf?
Well, we can put language to revisit it once it's completed.
Okay.
Because presumably there'll be a presentation once the study's been completed, and at that point we will then be able to take whatever action is recommended by that. And staff can do that. It doesn't really necessarily be part of the motion. We'll coordinate that for the presentation when this is over.
Okay.
Yeah, once it's completed, we will bring it back before council to adopt. And the plan will also have some implementation strategies and some recommended phasing for the plan itself. And if you'll remember, our comprehensive plan that the City Council adopted a few years ago stated in the plan that we needed a separate master plan for downtown.
Right.
So this goes right along with our comprehensive plan too.
Okay.
And I would just add that the plans that we've done in the past, we try to identify short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals and projects. So, in some cases, some of the cities we work with were actually implementing things in the plan before the plan was even adopted and fully, in implementation phase, because we had identified them, they knew they were needed to be done, and they had the wherewithal to carry them out.
Okay.
What value would you put on this if we hired a firm to do this?
My best guess on something like that, Councilor Johnson, would probably be about $100,000.
That's where I was figuring 100 100 to 150,000.
Yeah, the budget does not include any funding for the faculty. The funding is to support our graduate students that are working on the project, as well as expenses that occur, as part of the project.
So you can see the kind of value we're getting here. We're getting really quality for a master plan at a great value. Man, I see this as win-win at a perfect timing. Outstanding.
If one wanted to peruse your website, how do I get there? What's the address, or where do I get started?
I would. There are two, and you can just, if you go on Google, search for the OU Institute for Quality Communities, and that's the main website. And then the Urban Design Studio we also have a page, and you just search for OU Urban Design Studio. In the Urban Design Studio project archive, you will find that Route 66 project that I mentioned, as well as other projects. There's probably about 60 or 70 projects in there. The Institute webpage has, they don't have a complete archive. They just have like 4 or 6 projects that are on rotation, but you can still get a sense of the work that's been done there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, will we recognize?
Yes, sir.
This is one thing I think downtown definitely needs, and I've been saying this, and that we have 2 senior citizen buildings, and they definitely need some kind of grocery store. I mean, they really do. So I really want that in there.
That is a very common need. That we need that in downtown Tulsa. And I think we're finally about to the point where we have enough people living in downtown Tulsa where it'll support one. So that's something we can look into during this planning process.
And in addition to those senior towers, I know because of the way downtown is centrally located, you have a large population on the south-west corridor side that they're strapped in terms of their ability to find decent groceries and have to travel to the other side of town to Walmart or another grocery store. And so that would really, really be helpful, not only to just those seniors downtown, but we've got a large population on that corridor that would benefit from that.
Okay. Do you have like a farmer's market or a?
Yeah, we have farmer's market.
Yeah. Okay, so that's another option to work with. Something we could look at. In Tulsa, they're trying to make the farmer's market a year-round, 7 days a week type of market too.
Yeah, I think those are fine, but I mean grocery stores. These people want grocery stores.
We would be happy to look into that and see. A lot of that is driven by the market economics, and so we'll have to analyze
right.
Yeah.
Turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have any further questions? Can we seek a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Mike Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Item number 5, please.
Discuss and take necessary action concerning the City of Muskogee's membership in the Oklahoma Municipal League for fiscal year 2016-17.
Councilor Van.
Yes, I brought this item up at last Monday night when we were discussing about having security downstairs. And the Oklahoma Municipal League, I wasn't here to go over it in y'all's session you had. I was gone on vacation. And the Oklahoma Municipal League, the first time I went, I became a councilman in 2014. And I went over some of these documents in here, and it talks about the president and all this and that. But I can't see anything in here what they have done for Muskogee, Oklahoma. When I went to the one in Tulsa, we spent money to spend in hotels. We went to some seminars, and that's about. And then they had vendors there, big vendors. I mean, I got more stuff in the vendors than I did. I learned in the seminars we went to. But one of the seminars we went to was, it was 2 of them I went to. One on picking the city manager, and also the other one was on, what was that one on? Oh, how to treat citizens. And that one right there really got to me because I watch sometimes, the Oklahoma Municipal League, they had people, different speakers from different places, and they were talking about the citizens and how when citizens come to the city council meetings or PublicWorks meetings, how we should treat them and be respectful to them and nice to them. And I look at sometime, I mean, when I was at that mic, I was disrespected a lot, you know, as being just a citizen. So the Oklahoma Municipal League, this $30-some thousand, that's y'all can tell me another what they're doing here for us in Muskogee. I think it's a waste of money. We can use that money somewhere else, like putting a security guard downstairs right now where we're unsafe up here. We're after 5 o'clock. So I'll turn the floor over to some other councilmen and let them discuss and see what I want to see their ideas on this, because with myself, $30,000 this Oklahoma Municipal League, I can't see nothing it's doing for the city of Muskogee.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
We spent months to develop a budget, and last 2 meetings we've discussed items that were not a part of that budget, and staff has spent a lot of time developing a budget process, and I ask that we go ahead and move for a vote on this item. So I move that we go ahead and approve, go ahead and deny this item.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be recognized again.
Yes, sir.
Can y'all give me a list of things that this Oklahoma Municipal League, interim city manager Tucker, can you tell me some things? Give me a list of some things that the Oklahoma Municipal League has helped us in 4 years. I think you started 4 years ago. I wasn't a councilman then.
I'm not sure how long we've been a member.
Does anybody here know?
Long time.
Long time, Ms. Borston. Has it helped us?
Yes.
In what ways?
Well, in all the things that cities are involved in, they have all the information. We don't have to dig it out. And they represent us very well, I think. And I certainly think we need to remain a member of the Oklahoma Municipal League.
You said represent us real well. That's what I'm saying. I can't see where they represent us, because last time we went, last year, it was me, you, Rep. Coleman, and I think Mr. Johnson, I think he might have went, and the mayor. But the rest of the councilmen didn't attend this. And that's what I'm saying. I can't see actual facts where this has helped us financially. Has it given us streets? Has it given us, I want something that's got teeth in it that I can say, well, the Oklahoma Municipal League has really helped the city of Muskogee. We spent $30,000 on this place.
I'll make a comment on this. This is an item that I have been fighting my tenure as a city councilman with the same points that Councilman Van has made. The unfortunate thing is that this item is a budget item, so I understand what Wayne is saying. But just for the record, I agree with Councilman Van. They don't reach out to small municipalities as far as the advocacy work that they do, the lobbying work that they do. I haven't seen, and I brought this up during the budget process, but, I was defeated at that point, but yet and still the budget did pass. So, for the record, I would just like to say I agree with Councilman Van on the stance that we probably need to look at this in the future. I remember even at one point we had the president of the OML to come down and stated all the great things, and she was supposed to keep us some kind of month-to-month report of how Muskogee was being affected, and that was years ago, and I've yet to see one item come through. And some of you who was on the council back there in that time, and it's in the records, we never did get those reports back from the OML. A great organization. They don't comply by the Open Records Act. So, we never know what they're doing, and I just agree with Councilman Van, but unfortunately we have a motion on the floor, but we didn't get a second because this item is something that's in the budget. So that's just my point about the whole situation.
I'll second the item then.
I have a question. Even though it's on the budget, even though we budgeted for this $30,000, we don't have to accept the contract with them, correct?
You've approved, by adopting the budget, you've approved the allocation, not the expenditure.
So the expenditure hasn't been made yet then?
Correct.
So we could vote against to accept OML?
You could vote not to renew the membership with OML.
Okay. And again, the same conversation that Derek has is the same one that me and Derek's had for 4 years that we were on previously, and then now again, that we really would like to see some kind of document that says what OML does for our city. We know that we get educational benefits where we go to learn about being a city councilman, but we could pay for that anyway. Am I wrong on that? we still could contract with someone to give us those credited hours or go to those meetings.
Yeah, that's true.
We can go to they have these annual meetings where all the cities that are a part of their membership come to. Other than a golf membership or something else or playing a tournament, I don't even attend these things because I've never had anybody come out and just say that this is what they do for our city. I disagree on one aspect that we should pull money away from this for the simple reason to do a non-budgeted item. But on the other side of that, I don't agree that we should continue being a member of OML just because I have no idea in 4 years what they actually do for us. And I know that our previous city manager used to sit on that board as the president, and he enjoyed going to these meetings, but really, I mean, I would like to know what they do as well.
And then it's a waste of our money if our own councilors don't attend.
Yeah.
We're paying this membership, and we don't even have interest as council as a whole to go attend it, so that's another point about it.
And I'd like to see the staff prepare for us some documentation report of what we have gained, benefited from the last several years from the OML. I think you guys are selling the OML absolutely short, and I will say that from the standpoint, my relationship with Ron Drake began at an OML meeting in Oklahoma City, and we're getting ready to have a discussion about the possibility of him helping us with downtown Muskogee. Mr. Stewart has been to OML. Mr. Gary Garvin has been to the OML. Prague I don't know about. Kelly has probably been. I don't know that for a fact. Pam, Roy, I have been there. Until you have been there and experienced OML other than go to a couple of seminars, I don't think you have a clue what the OML is going to do.
Well,
if you're not willing to go to the OML and engage yourself in the process of understanding what they do, I don't think you ought to be able to vote on it. Personally.
When you say,
well, hang on.
When you say go, are you talking about go to the convention? Or you go to the
Tulsa,
meetings?
go to
Have these
Oklahoma
guys
City
all been to?
And participate.
On a yearly basis, have they really been engaging on a month-to-month basis for $30,000?
Mark Wilkerson has been there. Mr. Ewing has been there as presenters on behalf of the city of Muskogee. We developed the relationship with Enid and what we did with Enid and the information exchange. That became possible because of a relationship started at the OML. Ponca City and a relationship there, and a housing incentive program started as a relationship of the OML. They have helped us with sales tax collection. They're helping us now with sales tax growth team. They provide us data. They provide us training for our staff, not just council, but staff. And many meetings take place as a result at the OML, i.e. Attorneys associations, clerk and council associations. And they go to these meetings because that's where the meeting takes place. That's where you have assembled these groups of people. So until you all get engaged in the OML, you're never going to understand the value that we get. They've done surveying for us of other cities when we were trying to figure out whether our expenses and our labor are in line with other cities. Kelly uses the OML's wage and benefit study and has for years, as has Michael, and both of them have talked about it. Until we start paying attention to what we gain from the OML, we're never going to understand it. You say you haven't received a report. We get an executive director's report from the person that came and presented to us on a monthly basis. I don't know whether you get that or not.
We get
it comes to the
email.
city on a monthly basis, telling you what the OML is doing.
And it comes by email if you read it.
They went with us to Claremore to look at the moreclaremore.com concept and marketing against negative perception of a city. They're involved all the time if you just ask them to be involved. It's a budgeted item. I don't see it as one that we need to change. We can have this discussion again for next budget year. I think this is already over for this budget year and the membership that we have.
Mr. Chairman, I've read
the next 12 months.
Yes.
Mayor, you said that we should go and do this and do that. Well, I went. I've seen. I mean, like I said, I asked the question just a while ago. Tell me what OML has done.
There's a motion.
Okay, you've told me a few things, but I I can't see where it's really benefited us. The rest of the councilmen here, besides Ms. Boyston over there, she's been on the council before. Yeah, she spoke up and she said, well, the OML's this and that, but she didn't tell me, she didn't specifically tell me what they have done for us.
Okay.
What dollars are they putting in our pockets?
I asked that we have staff bring us back a report about
Sir?
what
I'm gonna go ahead and
they're involved with our staff.
Why do we need staff to bring back a report? We giving
Because
these
that's
people
where
30.
they bring the data back on a weekly basis. That's where you're going to see the value.
We're giving these people $30,000 and we don't know what's going on.
I'm gonna go ahead and recognize
Chairman,
that this.
can I go back to my motion that has a motion and a second on it that says this was a budgeted item, and we have a motion and a second, and I call for a vote.
Mr. Chairman, before we go to that with the conversation that need to take place, I will say from my part that the times that I did attend OML, there was some benefit. In fact, the mayor and I went to the same conference where not only did we meet Mr. Drake, but at that time we were in desperate need of assistance for some other administrative direction as it related to several of the items that we had going on, and OML was very helpful. In fact, if I recall correctly, they did an ad hoc meeting with the other city councilors to attend so that we can talk about those items that we had questions about at that time. So I did see some benefit to it. And also, Mr. Tucker, I don't remember which studies, I know it was 3 or 4 that I requested that they actually did. Because there was some items I was trying to either validate or invalidate based on my own opinion, and they did produce those studies.
They have a counselor. They have a research department that is set up for inquiries from city officials, comparing what other cities are doing. Because a lot of times, as the mayor alluded, when we look at an ordinance, we always want to know what are other cities doing. The one that comes to mind that Councilor Van was part of was the sidewalk discussion. If you remember, we discussed, our ordinance provides that the sidewalks are the responsibility of the adjoining homeowner, and then that's what our ordinance says. So the question was, well, what are other cities doing? And I reached out to, based on that discussion, I reached out to the OML Research Department, and they put together that PowerPoint that we presented out that said that the vast majority of cities did have the homeowners as responsible for the sidewalks, but that was not exclusively true. There were a number of minority communities who did bear the responsibility. So that's an example of information that was provided to us by the OML Research Department that we did utilize.
And I am in favor, especially in light of one of the comments Councilor Hall said. I think we should see something. I do agree with that. But then my concern becomes, in my case as a councilor, if I didn't have OML to do the information that they've provided to me in the past, then where would I get it? I mean, if there's a similar organization, I'm good. But if there's not, then that kind of puts me in an awkward situation, because then I don't think any of us have the professional background where we could just create institutes of information that we can get outside of OML, unless there's another organization that we don't know about.
I'm not aware of another organization, but I will tell you the information that we utilize the most is the legislative information, and I think you all get the legislative bulletins, and that's what Councilor Boydston was referring to. They'll alert us as potential House or Senate bills that are coming forward that will impact us, tell us what we need to know about it, and give us some talking points in reaching out to our local legislators if it's something either we're in favor of or we're against. And they help us lobby at the state capitol level, but they also provide us the information so that we can lobby our own council members. And there are several thousand bills that are legislative bills that are filed each year, and so having to go through those and review them would be an arduous process. One of the things that OML provides us is a summary of all those bills that relate specifically to city and towns. So that is another benefit that we do use each year when the legislature is in session.
I'm going to recognize at this time Councilman Johnson's call for the vote, so if we could have the roll call, please.
We need clarity on what this motion is before we do that. What is the outcome? I just want to know what I'm voting on.
Motion is that we deny this.
So a yes vote would be a no
Yes.
for this?
Yes would be
Vote denied.
The
denied.
agenda item title is discuss and take action.
Concerning the City of Muskogee's membership in the Oklahoma Municipal League for fiscal year 2016-2017.
But that's why
So
I'm
we need some clarity on
yeah.
what action is
Because
recommended. So
if we're going to say deny the item,
So
there it is.
the item wasn't written in a way to take a particular action. That's why I was asking for clarity.
Mr. Tucker, can I ask one question?
So how does this need to be?
Motion to approve.
I've got,
So how would be the best way to?
you're wanting to continue our membership.
Continue
in OML.
membership.
So I
That'd
think amend your motion to
Continue membership.
continue membership for
As budgeted.
16-17.
Continue membership as budgeted.
And that was read.
And I'll second that as well.
Okay.
Can I
Roll
ask
call,
a question?
please.
Oh,
We're
sorry.
going to go ahead and
I'm
recognize
sorry.
the roll call.
Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Kale,
Yes.
Marlon Coleman,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
No.
Derek Reed,
No.
Dan Hall,
No.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Yes wins.
Item number 5 passed. Item number 6.
Consider approval of the appointment of Mike Combs to the Wellness Initiative Committee to serve a 4-year term beginning on August 1st, 2016, and ending on July 31st, 2020, or take other necessary action.
Councilor Van.
Yeah, I know Mr. Combs personally, and I think he'll be a great asset to this Wellness Fitness Committee, and I'll make a motion to approve him.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 6 passed. Item number 7.
Consider approval of a resolution directing the filing and notification of the publication of supplement number 16 to the Muskogee City Code of Ordinances and take any necessary action.
Ms. Bates.
Yes, sir. This incorporates all of our ordinances through March of 2016.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
All right, that item passed, and that was the final item on Finance Committee, so it's adjourned at this time.
We'll now move to the Public Works agenda for today. Item number 1.
Consider approval of the Public Works Committee minutes of July 5th, 2016.
Entertain a motion regarding, unless there's changes or corrections.
Move the approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 2.
Receive report from the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame as to the financial condition, project status, and progress towards achieving the public service objectives of implementing cultural and tourism development of the greater Muskogee community, as well as consider approval to renew the cooperative agreement for fiscal year 2017 or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, as you all may be aware, we do have a yearly contract to support the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame. The cost of that contract is $15,000. And that amount was expended last year, and it has been approved in the budget for allocation this year. So we're asking for a renewal of that contract. Additionally, Executive Director Jim Blair has presented a annual report for our review, and that was attached to the agenda. And Mr. Blair is also here tonight to answer any questions on that report, as is Miss Nancy Gaden, who's with him. But I think the presentation that he is going to talk about relates to, and I'm only looking at our monitor, G-Fest. And if you all remember, G-Fest was done as a cooperative effort between the city, the Redevelopment Authority, the foundation, and the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame. And so with that, I'll invite Jim to the microphone if there are any questions about his report, and if he wants to make his presentation on G-Fest.
Sure. Any questions on the report, the written report, before we start? Thank you again for considering this. We've been working a long time on G-Fest, and it was quite a relief to see it done, but we're excited about moving forward with it. So we put together, I know there's a lot of questions, we put together a little report to show kind of a outcome of it a little bit. I want to thank Oscar Ray for putting together, he's actually working on a documentary that will be part of, be released in November and be featured at some film festivals. So if you're ready, we'll start on this. Show you, and here's the brief documentary. Hopefully it starts here pretty quick.
Bruce? Okay. Jim, what if the embedded video is not going to run for us?
It worked on mine, but well, anyway, it was a really good video, and it showed just the making of G-Fest, and it will be a feature length when it's done. So I want to thank Oscar again for that. We'll show it to you anytime you want to come see us. Anyway, here's a quick overview. Overall, we received a lot of positive feedback from all over the country on the event, from the artists, from our volunteers, from our vendors, from our patrons, so we were real pleased with that. We had over 80 acts perform. All were scheduled and on time. That was a shocker to all of us. It was quite a feat doing 80 acts. The feedback that we got from our sponsors, our artists, and our patrons, it was well organized. Sometimes we questioned that on the back end when we were answering 3 phones at once and running crazy. But overall, everything went off without a hitch. Media exposure was very positive. More importantly, we created a baseline to build on future improvements to make the festival even better. We increased economic activity in Muskogee, and the G-Fest brand received enormous exposure worldwide. So that's over. This is a picture of the stage going up. This is probably the biggest stages to ever be set up in Oklahoma as far as mobile stages, and we were real proud of that stage going up. Here's a shot from Saturday night. You can kind of get this is the Casey Musgrave show. You kind of get an idea of what the crowd looks like on that. There's another shot from out front. This is a shot from the back toward the show. It looks like during the Avett Brothers on Friday night. And you can see the big video wall on the far right. Here's another shot from the Avett Brothers. We were hoping we'd get a little bit of rain out of that cloud back there, but I think we got 3 drops. Here's a view from the backstage on Friday night for the Avett Brothers. So it kind of gives you an idea of what the crowd looked like out there. This was submitted on our Facebook page by one of our patrons. We were real proud of this. We've been to a lot of festivals around the country, but G-Fest was by far the friendliest and most inviting we've been to in a long time. So we were real proud to see that. There's a shot from, that's Avett Brothers again. Attendance. Everybody's wanting to know what attendance. Our total tickets and passages issued were 24,604. Now this includes our artist guests, our vendors, our volunteers, our patrons, ticket buyers, our sponsors, and the promos that went out to a number of radio stations. Not all of those got redeemed, but that's what our potential was when they're on site. Estimated attendance Thursday night 3,000 to 5,000 for Oak Grove Medical Show. Friday 6,000 to 8,000. Saturday night was 8,000 to 10,000. So when you add that up for the total of the 3-day event, anywhere from 17,000 to 23,000 is what we think it looked like for the 3 days. This is kind of a map, and there's actually one left off here that came from the United Kingdom. But it shows you, this comes off our ticketing system, shows where tickets were purchased. Tickets were purchased in 25 states. So in our first year, we were able to reach half of the states and sell tickets. And you'll see one up in Canada. So we hope to get some in Cuba and Mexico next year. Financial and economic results, total revenues for the event, $507,000. We had hoped for much more, but the heat probably had an impact on that. Our non-cash sales, this is what goes out in our promos to our comps, to our sponsors. was $533,000. Our net investment with the bottom line, what did it cost to put this on? Just shy of $900,000, and what we call the investment. That, in addition to that, hat box improvements made through efforts of the city of over $1.1 million. These are permanent improvements that'll be for every event that goes on from here on out. Lots of different ways you can calculate economic impact. City of Winfield calculates it 6 to 8 times every dollar they spend on their event. We went through a calculator that, based upon attendance and what our costs were, we came up with a $3 million impact, which we think is a conservative impact. If you use other ones, you'll come up with 6 to 8 million. So it's, I'm sure there's other ones that'll give us various reasons, but the bottom line is that we had a positive economic impact on our community. What are we looking for improvements for next year? Internally, our transportation, it was a big area to walk around. We had 4 stages to walk from one to the other, and that kind of heat was quite a toll. So we're already talking with people about pedicabs or golf cart taxis, or using other forms of transportation, maybe even using the trolley inside. Now that we've got one event under, we have that creates opportunity for national sponsorships we can go after now. A lot of opportunities for expenditure reductions. It's very important for us to make a positive first impression on this first event. And we spent the money to get to bring the experts in. Some of this we think we can reduce. Revamp of our VIP sponsor area. Sometimes during the big shows, it looked like a big area where the VIP and sponsors were. We're going to probably revamp that where that area is for people who actually bought tickets. Comp tickets, you don't typically use those seats like you would if you actually paid for them out of your pocket. We'll probably create a separate area for those and allow our paid patrons to get up closer. That was one of the areas that recommendations we saw from a lot of our patrons. They didn't like seeing that open area unused. Focused marketing plan based on 2016 results. We had what we thought was an effective marketing plan for this year, but now we can go back to our results and know exactly where to kind of really pinpoint that in and laser it in and really get more bang for our buck. And consider a larger headliner. You know, a lot of your large headliners you see today, the cost of them is what our total overall budget was for talent. So, you know, people say, why didn't you have Jimmy Buffett? Well, that would eat up our entire budget on everything. So we were able to hire 80 acts for what we could hire a lot of single acts. But letters of support, I know it's hard to read this. This came from Sonny Lee of KVOO. And basically it talks about how impressed they were with the organization and of all the years they've worked with festivals and their involvement in future festivals. And that's a big deal. You can see they're with Scripps, which owns 5 radio stations in the Tulsa market, and we see them as a potential major partner. So we were very pleased to get this letter. This was one of our patrons sent this one. They went through all the effort to make this. The top 10 reasons. If I were David Letterman, I'd do a better job of this. But it was all positive. It was everything that they enjoyed about it. This was actually from a family that came in to support. I think they had some children playing in bands. And real quick, this is something I got something from 3 different festivals. This is Bonnaroo. I won't go through all this, but at the bottom, what I've highlighted is that a recent study indicated that Bonnaroo Festival and its patrons put more than $50 million into the local economy. That's Manchester, Tennessee, and the population of Manchester, Tennessee is about 11,000. So much about the 4th of the size of Muskogee. This is another festival in Kansas called Walnut Valley Festival. It's where they estimate for every dollar spent, there's a 6 to 8 times turnover. This festival has been going on for 40 years, and it makes up over 80% of their tourism budget each year, this one weekend event. Merle Fest is another one in a town of 3,500 people in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And their annual estimated economic impact is more than $10 million to the region. So I just wanted to point that out. That's what we aim to do with G-Fest, is create these kind of impacts. And that's what we want to do it next year. So
Well, Jim,
Calendar.
Yeah, mark it down.
Yeah.
Jim, I'd just like to say one thing is that when you told us about G-Fest, I was kind of excited, and I never even heard of half of these acts that you had out there, these music groups. So I went on YouTube like a normal person would and listened to them, and it did not do half of them justice because I had a great time all 3 nights, and I didn't even know I liked that kind of music that well. But like I said, the fact that you got it off the ground and running says a lot about your character and your drive that you have. And I can't say enough about the atmosphere that was out there, the ability that you had, the people that you had in place to get things done and accomplished. All your food vendors were really good. I hated every one of them. I gained about 15 pounds out there. But overall, I think the fact that it was up and running and you got it the first year under your belt says a lot about where this thing's going to go. And I appreciate all the hard work you did.
Thank you.
The one thing I would recommend is anybody that has a four-wheeler or a golf cart, go see the hangar people because they will give you a purple shirt and make you sign a little piece of paper, and then you start delivering people places. You become a volunteer real quick. So it was a great time. I'd love to do it again.
Thank you.
Amen.
Let me say, just on behalf of the city, to you, Jim, to Nancy, sitting in the audience, to Angelina, and to Sue, on a scale of 1 to 10, you guys did a 9 3/4 on the first event we've ever had.
Thank you.
And to a huge host of volunteers that helped put it on and support you guys.
There was. We had over 500 volunteers. Couldn't have done it without those volunteers and the city of Muskogee, and a lot of help. And the staff, it about killed all of us. And we've got to look for ways to improve how we do things so we don't fall over dead. But it was well worth it. We're ready to do it again.
Heard a lot of people say they would never get it ready in time. And they had to eat those words because it was perfect.
We heard that from a lot of our outside people they didn't tell us that on the front end, but on the back end they said we didn't think you, and they were impressed.
Yeah.
They were really impressed with how it came off.
And now that it's there, it can be used for all kinds of events.
Yes.
Next year, let's order a little cooler temperatures.
Yes.
Whose responsibility was that?
Chamber.
Oh, okay.
Oh, treasurer's here.
But Jim, I will tell you that I own a CD now of Old Crow Medicine Show.
All right.
So I like them. They were great.
Mr. Blair, I was just wondering, is that the only time you can do it is in June when it's hot?
Well, we can do them every month of the year. You know, you go through, and we started planning this, and I went through a lot of strategic planning with a lot of the experts out there, and you've got to dodge. If you get into March, April, or May, you've got weather that is a significant risk. If you go into July, August, September, July, August, you've got really significant heat, and then in September, October, you get a lot of competition from your sports. And so we looked at June, but also try to look at not conflicting with any other major festivals in the United States. The date that we picked was the date that formerly was held by Rocklahoma. And they had always had a great success with that date, but they wanted to move to a holiday weekend, which is typically not recommended in the festival world. Holiday weekends are not a great time for festivals, but they moved to Memorial Day, and they fought rain every single year. They had serious flooding last year. And so we jumped on that one. We try to avoid the Bonnaroo Festival. We try to avoid CMA Festival. We were on top of Telluride Festival in Colorado, which is probably a different market, and one festival in Arkansas called Turkey Track. So we've considered other months, but it's just there's probably less conflicts. I don't think we had hardly any conflict at all in Muskogee for that date. But if we'd have done it last year, we'd have gotten rained on. This year, we just happen to have a lot of heat and a huge heat index. So it's a calculated risk, to be honest with you.
Any outdoor event you do, but of everybody that come together, from the city to volunteers to you and the vision that you had, this is one of those events that really made Muskogee proud. And thanks to everybody that had anything to do with G-Fest.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we need to make a motion, or just make a motion to accept the report?
And approve the renewal.
The renewal. Oh, yeah, and do a renewal on this thing.
Second.
G-Fest.
One point of clarification, it's not a renewal on G-Fest because we already did a 3-year agreement with them. This is to renew the support to the Hall of Fame.
Let's support the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Make that motion.
We had a motion. Do we have a second as well?
Yes, yes.
We do. All right. Any discussion? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Enthusiastically, by the way. Item number 3.
Receive report from Holloway, Updike, and Bellin on 69 Highway Project or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, Terry Eddings from Holloway, Updike, and Bellin is here to give you a report on the Highway 69 project. Also from Hub is Wes Stewart, and we also have in the audience from ODOT, Chris Williams and Darren Saliba. And he's got a PowerPoint put together to show you the improvements that are planned for the Highway 69 improvement project.
Thanks, Mike. Since the city is a huge stakeholder in the US 69 project, we thought it'd be time to kind of get you guys up to speed on it. We're talking about G-Fest.
Close to you as you can.
We'll get you something else to get you a better road to get in there on it. But US 69 project, it begins at right in front of Division 1 at ODOT, south of town. I think the street's Haddock Drive, and then it goes 2.5 miles north to Okmulgee. It'll be a complete reconstruction of all the pavement in between there. We've got 3 intersections that we're going to be doing some work on, putting new signals on, major drainage improvements, the pedestrian overpass. In fact, let me go here and I'll show you all these locations. But but anyway, right there is where we start, and the first intersection we work on will be at Hancock. We'll be going just to the east, about 500 feet, so we get some right turn lanes in there, put a new signal, and then we'll go on. When we go on north, we got a bridge box at Cootie Creek. We'll be extending it, and then further north of that's Border Avenue. We'll be putting new signals there. We're going to be going both directions, east and west, adding left turn lanes, trying to increase the capacity of that intersection. And at the Centennial Trail, that's where the existing railroad overpass is. We're going to be taking it out. We'll be putting a new pedestrian truss bridge in at that location, and it should end up pretty nice. When we go farther north at our line, we'll go ahead and redo those signals, and but we're not going to be going any north, west or east right now because it's already 3 lanes, and we got, already got left turn lanes at that location. Here we have the typical sections of what this new pavement's going to look like. On the top is the section from Border south to Division 1 or toward Peak. It's going to be a divided section, 40-foot medium, 2 12-foot lanes each direction, 10-foot shoulders, similar to what we have on Peak Boulevard. And on the section from Border to Okmulgee, That's this section right there. It'll be similar to the one we did from Okmulgee on the north. It's going to be 3 lanes each direction. We're going to come back and put a concrete median on there, and I'll talk about it later on because I know it's kind of an issue. And then we're going to have sidewalks on both sides. Sidewalks will start at the north end, and then they'll go all the way down the border on both sides, and then they will go ahead and tie into the pedestrian trail at the Centennial Trail. The construction sequence on this job right here is we're going to start at the Centennial Trail and the railroad overpass. That'll be phase 1. We'll go ahead and construct shoe flies on each side of it. That'll get us down to 1 lane each direction. We'll go ahead and rebuild that pavement right there in that area. Take the old railroad overpass out. Pull the shoe flies. Go ahead and hang the new truss bridge, and I'll show you more detail on it later. And then that'll let us go on to phase 2 because that'll act as our crossover on the next phase. On phase 2 and 3, we're just going to be it'll be a divided section, and it's we'll go ahead and put traffic head-to-head traffic going on the northbound lanes, and we'll go ahead and reconstruct the southbound lanes. And then the next phase, we'll go ahead and switch them over, put traffic on the completed southbound lanes, and build the northbound lanes. So after we get that finished, we move up to the north end of it. And our objective on the north end will be to go ahead and keep 4 lanes of traffic going at all times if possible. This is a sequence on the north part. First thing we'll do is go in there and do a temporary widening on the west side, and that'll allow us to go ahead and we'll go ahead and do the median part on the next part, and then we can start moving traffic around. We'll go ahead and shove traffic to the west side, 4 lanes, and build the east side. And then we'll go ahead and after it's done, we'll switch them back over and do the west side. At the where the existing railroad overpass is, we're going to be putting in a pre-engineered truss-type bridge. It's going to have like a 200-foot span. We'll be raising the grade about 5.5 feet. On top of the bridge, the deck will be about 7.5 feet higher than what the existing deck is right now. Of course, you can put some kind of Muskogee or whatever you want on the truss bridge. We're looking at the keystone up in the upper right side. It's a aesthetically pleasing type truss bridge. It's good for the 200-foot span that we're going to be needing. And also the lower corridor parallels the trail, so it helps on the clearance. This slide here has to do with the median that we're going to be putting back from border to Okmulgee. The purpose of the raised median, there's 7 different criteria to determine if you need a median or not. And really the purpose of a raised median it cuts back on the accidents. There's an increase in the capacity and a decrease in the delays. So when you have a facility that's like 20,000 vehicles and 40 drives per mile or less, a continuous two-way left turn lane functions great, and that's what we've got north of Okmulgee. But in our case, south of Okmulgee, I don't know if you can see all the blue dots, but we have like 61 drives in that mile, not counting the intersections. On the part from Okmulgee north, we only have 29 drives, so we got half the number of drives. When you have a 2-lane facility, continuous 2-lane facility, and the traffic gets up over 20,000 vehicles per day, and the drives are over 40, then it quits functioning and it starts causing problems with safety. There's a 30% increase in the accidents. You decrease the capacity and several other factors. So that's why we're looking at going back with a concrete median. So this job right here is it's right now it's scheduled on the ODOT's 8-year plan for the year 2020, and right-of-way and utility relocation is going to be starting in 2018. One of the major effects that this job will have on the city will be the utility relocation. They've got about 4,000 feet of 12-inch line that has to be relocated, 2,000 foot of 8-inch. You got some sewer and different crossings. So right now we're looking at between $500,000 to maybe $700,000 for utility relocation costs from the city. So that's going to be something that you'll have to start budgeting for. So anyway, it's I think once it's all said and done, it'll be a great project. You know, you can look at the north end and see what happens, and it'll be looking like that the whole way through. It's just going to take a little effort to get there. So, any questions?
Terry, at the existing railroad overpass Centennial Trail,
right,
will that be all up to grade, existing grade, that drainage issue that takes place?
No, we're just raising up 5.4 feet. All we need to do is get like 45 mile an hour through there, so that pushes it up about a little over 5 feet.
And then the bridgeway will go up 7.5 feet.
Yeah, we're going to be from the top of the our finished grade on the pavement. We got to have a 17 foot 9 inches, somewhere around there, to our low steel, and then we'll be farther up. But from the existing top of the deck right now on the railroad bridge that they're walking on, it'll be 7.6 feet higher when our job's done. So,
Mr. Saliba has been warning us for about 3 years to be putting some money back for utility relocation, and this is reality.
Well, if you look at the lines that you've got in there, they're over 65, 70 years old. That pavement's been there since 1952.
Those are our new ones.
Yeah, you have some actual asbestos cement lines, and so I mean, can't say we're doing you a favor, but it'll be definitely something that needs to be done. So that pavement's, I can't believe it's holding up like it is, because our shoe flies that we're going to build on our job will be a stronger, better pavement than what they're driving on right now. So it's amazing that ODOT's been able to keep that thing open.
Terry, would you tell them what the anticipated utility cost is, so we have that out?
Right. Me and Greg did an estimate of $500,000, and Jay said you better figure about $700,000 until we can get more, till we can narrow it down. But we're just at 30% plans right now. So, but that's probably a good estimate. I think we started at $750,000. So
that's a cost to who?
To the city. City of Muskogee.
Yeah, and then the utility relocation on our last job that we did to the north, it was actually harder than the roadway part of the job. What those guys said. So.
And the earliest construction would start on this would be about 2020?
2020, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be doing some creative type bidding, maybe, A, B, and even probably C type bidding. We're trying to get them in and out, and we'll have to work around the G-Fest, when it's going on. We don't want to have everything torn up, so.
Terry, could you summarize what A, B, and C bidding is for the council? I'm sure
Well, A is just your basic bid. The B has a time part involved, and the C is what's the C? It's a new mechanism. I haven't had any experience with it, but I know they got another deal. We might even do some lane rental.
Hi, I'm Chris Wallace. I'm the construction engineer for ODOT. A, B, and C bidding is incentive type bidding. So what we're looking at on this project is like when we go through where the railroad overpass is and we have to go down to one lane in either direction, we'll come up with a amount of time we think that the contractor can build that. Then we'll assign an incentive to that, to where if they complete it early, they get a bonus, or if it takes longer, then they get a disincentive. So that's typically an A plus B. Where you get the C is we're looking to put a second incentive. So the first incentive will get it from that one lane back to normalized traffic. We're also looking to put a second incentive from there north to Okmulgee. That way we can, again, give the contractor an estimated amount of time, and they'll actually bid that time. But we'll have a dollar amount for that. And that way it helps to expedite the project, because there's a bonus involved if they get it done earlier, and there's a penalty if they don't.
But as far as the pedestrian bridge, what we've got down now is, it's a pretty aesthetically type bridge and all that. But you guys may see bridges somewhere that you've seen that you might want us to kind of look at. But we can do about anything. Our engineer that worked on that, he did the one over in Oklahoma City on the crosstown, the bird-looking deal. So he's capable of designing anything.
Yes, as long as you might as well get creative. If ODOT's paying for that one, right?
We need to be economically conscious.
Let's be prudent, huh? All right.
We want your feedback.
Yeah.
We need the partnership, spirit of cooperation, and be clear that you do have input. We've got some time here, and look forward to subsequent meetings.
ODOT is wonderful to work with. In the last few years that I can speak to, they've been nothing but a help and a partner to the city. We're very appreciative for that relationship. We need to do nothing more than receive your report, so I don't guess we have to have a motion in that regard.
One of the questions I had, though, what types of traffic delays can the residents expect? Because I know that I have friends that live in other cities, and they always say they appreciate all of the road work that the cities do, but it's always like it always catches them off guard, and they just never know until they're in a traffic jam. So what kind of, because I'm sure someone within Mr. Tucker's staff will do a good job at warning people in advance, but what can they expect?
Yeah, it's, we'll have an advance warning. I mean, we could spend $500,000 on sophisticated advance warning work zones that tells them if you're here at this point, it's going to take so much time to go through town and all that kind of stuff.
ODOT has that kind of money? I'm glad to know
we won't
that.
be spending that kind of money.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that. Man, that's great.
So it's called an intelligent work.
That made
zone,
him stand up.
But we're going to figure out. It's. I just would recommend they not go through there during construction.
I was just curious because I know people are going to ask once that starts happening.
This is an introductory meeting. This is an introductory meeting, so we hope and look forward to more questions. One of the challenges that Terry's got is keeping 2 lanes of traffic in each direction.
Yeah.
That's not just an engineering challenge. That's going to be a construction challenge as well. Can't sugarcoat it. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. But all of the contract elements that Mr. Wallace went through, we'll look at those in detail. As far as introducing the start of construction, we will do the best job we possibly can, and we'll start right here. So we're open to suggestions on that. Reaching out to the public is very, very important. It's going to be a trying time, not just during project development, but utility relocations. That's a challenge for y'all, and if you can't help us, that kind of diminishes, part of the feeling, the good feeling about finally getting that pavement restored. So it's a very significant endeavor for us, comparatively speaking, on a money amount of projects, and hopefully you're reasonably pleased with that section to the north that's been in place and the outcome of the development, if you will. So it's kind of a win-win, and it's important that we communicate clearly on this. Sir, we didn't have one of these meetings on that north leg, and I thought maybe starting early would be a good idea. So hopefully we approach this together, arm in arm, and there will be challenges, and just wake up every day and do the best job we can. Everything you talked about today, the 30K on the metropolitan deal, you guys are very taxpayer conscious, money conscious. I respect that. You all have a lot of passion about whatever the subject matter is. I highly respect that, and I look forward to working with you all. We do. It's not a one-man show. The traffic on 69, the last improvement we did was 3 years ago. We were out doing maintenance on it 3 days later. The pavement's done from a conditional standpoint. the underpass where we have the water problem, where the pavement fails, our maintenance crew will put a lane drop up, especially in the southbound direction, and traffic will back up to north of Okmulgee. Have you ever been a part of that? Just a simple maintenance patch, a 3-hour operation to just try to keep a semblance of a driving surface for the motorists. Backs up all the way to north of Okmulgee. We're talking about a construction project here. So Terry's going to help work out the sequencing and embrace. One of the biggest benefits of Chris's milestones is when you have the bidders and you have all these contract elements, they know how they bid. They're going to build the job as they bid it. So this is serious business, and that really helps out on the bids, but also the ultimate construction of it. What's happening on 69, the FHWA is projecting slightly less than a 2% increase in freight traffic per year. Slightly less than 2% freight traffic per year. Through Oklahoma is about 900 million tons of total freight traffic, and 75 to 80% of that is on the highways. My point is 69 is a major freight corridor, and if we don't do something pretty quick, it's going to get out of hand. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah, I
sir.
guess like 5,000
Other
to
questions or
6,000 trucks a
comments?
day.
Well, I, for one, like the north end of 69. It's nice. It's pretty. It made our city look more open as you come up that hill. And I'm glad to see that you're going to do the south side of Okmulgee now, and I hope it opens it up and looks the same way. Thank you.
Give us a good location for our next quick trip on the south end of is that right?
You got the G-Fest? We're going to have to coordinate with the G-Fest.
That's no big deal. Any other comments or questions? Terry, thank you, sir. Appreciate the update.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Saliba, again, we appreciate the relationship. Item number 4.
Consider approval to sponsor the participation of AIM Safe and Secure Committee in National Night Out, and to further designate the mayor as the city's representative and point of contact, or take other necessary action.
I don't know how many of you were involved in National Night Out last year, but it was a smashing, huge success. Hundreds and hundreds of people were out, and I want to say we were at 3 locations last year. This year there will be 4 locations. It'll be August the 2nd, which is National Night Out. You've got police involved, you've got fire department involved, you've got all of the utility services, you've got stormwater there, you've got the nonprofit resource center and community relations. But they're just a fun time. It's a time to get out, you know, when the weather's cool, August the 2nd, and hopefully that evening will be cool for us. And there'll be some music, there'll be hot dogs, and there'll be a lot of people out cheering with National Night Out. And so I guess we are, approving potentially that we would participate with AIM Safe and Secure Committee in National Night Out. So I would move that I would move that in terms of a recommendation.
Mayor, you'll have 3 locations.
Is there 3?
Yeah, it'll be Elliott's
Got
Park.
an east, west, and a downtown.
You had downtown last year. Won't that be downtown this year? You'll have Elliott's Park, you have Spalding, and you have Robinson. I'm on the committee.
You're exactly right. There
Yes,
is
sir.
3, and then also a staging area at the Civic Center. All right, so
Second.
we will need a motion. We have a motion. We have a
You
motion
may
and a
make a
second.
motion and a second.
Is there comment or discussion regarding National Night Out? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 5.
Discuss and consider approval for a resolution supporting Downtown Muskogee Inc.'s continued participation in the Oklahoma Main Street Center, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, since I've been on council, I don't remember this being on council, but what we have done is submitted our application to the Oklahoma Main Street, and what it is we since we've been reorganizing, we have actually been an associate member of the Oklahoma Main Street organization, and now we're moving to a full Main Street organization. And with that, we need a resolution from the council to move forward with that. Our application was actually due on the 15th, but we put this will be coming forward from the City Council. So that's what I would ask from the City Council, and I'd make that in the form of a motion.
Okay, we've got a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there comment or discussion? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 6.
Consider approval to renew an interlocal agreement with Hilldale Public Schools to furnish law enforcement and school resource officer functions for the district campuses within the city or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, as you know, for the past 2 years, we have provided funding for 2 SRO officers to be housed at Hilldale Public Schools. We have been approached by Kaylin Cootie, the superintendent for Hilldale Public Schools, asking us to renew that participation for the next year. We have budgeted for that amount for the ongoing fiscal year, so approval of the contract would approve the expenditure. Happy to answer any questions.
So move for that item.
I've got a question.
Motion.
Have we communicated to them that we may have to start slowing down on that, or had any talks to that effort?
I have been trying to set up a meeting with Dr. Cootie. I sent her an email last week with a request that we speak prior to this meeting, and I haven't heard back from her yet. I assume since they're on summer break, it's probably not always, she's probably not always in the office all the time. But I hope to have those conversations before this is approved at council.
Now, is these conversations going to talk about offsetting the cost a little different?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So do we need to pass it, or do we need to, like,
This is only a one-year contract.
I know, but do we need to hold it over until you have that conversation? She may not be very happy with what we have to say.
But it won't have any impact on this
What we're doing this
contract
year.
for this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless we say no.
Unless we say no, yes.
But we will have some.
Do we have extra police?
We're still
No.
short a little bit. We're still short several officers.
It's my thought that we start conversations as to how long we can continue this, but not to pull the rug out under them at this point.
Well, but I don't see how, if we're short of police, it seems to me that that might not be the wisest thing to do, to farm them out.
I agree with you.
Chief, do you want to come up and speak on that a bit?
It is a struggle to maintain staffing. We thought we were a little overstaffed. We're down to, we've lost 2. We'll lose 1 by the end of this year. We've lost another one to retirement, and there's a possibility that we could lose some more. Last year, we had up to 11 positions vacant. It takes 7 months or longer to go through the training process. I have 13 officers right now that are in training, and it is extremely difficult to provide that kind of service with our staffing levels and the issues that we're dealing with. And it is going to be a problem to manage that.
I just don't understand the logic.
Well, they
Can
had
someone explain that to me?
They had approached us a couple years ago because they felt the need to have an SRO officer at both the elementary and the high school. And at that time, we'd entered into a one-year contract. And for the last 2 years, they have asked us to renew that. If you recall, we discussed some of this at the retreat and in our budget committee meetings as to whether or not we wanted to move forward because we had received another year's request. As I spoke to the chief separately before we had those discussions, there were 3 officers who had not notified us of their intent to resign. And so that's new information that we didn't have at the time. But these officers are there during the time for school and during the off time, they're back with us. So the idea is to split the cost 50-50 with Hilldale for those 2 officers to account for the time that they're there versus the time they're with us.
Does this not also kind of lend itself toward community policing, where you have that presence in the school where they're developing that relationship? Dan, you could probably speak to that better than I could. But.
Well, and my concern is not having the police officers at Hilldale. It was more on an economic basis, because if we're only getting the officers from May to August, so we got about roughly 3 to 4 months, and we're splitting 50-50 with them. It was my concern that the city is footing the 50% of a bill where we don't get the officer for 50% of the time, and that's my problem. Even though I find it necessary to have officers out on that side of town at that school because it is so far out there, and if there is a incident with an issue, it would take an average officer at least 20 minutes to arrive at that school before they could take care of the issue. And by having an officer out there already, at least you have some barrier that would prevent an incident from occurring. So I do enjoy having them out there for that reason. My sole questioning was more for the economic version of it, because if they're going to keep them for 9 months out of the 12 months, it should be a little more than 50-50. And that's what I was hoping that Roy would have that conversation about. And I kind of already had a conversation with her, because she heard we were going to do away with them completely this year, and assured me that she would have all of her parents sitting up in our chambers up here. And I said, okay, I like the conversation. But the deal is that it's more about them footing the bill for the time that they have the officers, was my concern. And I'd hate for something to happen out at Hilldale. I'm not saying it will, but something to happen out there, and we take the officer out, and it's going to take 20 minutes for someone to get out there. The other side, as a director of a campus police department, I got to side with Rex a little bit too, because being shorthanded, I'm down 3 guys this year. There's nothing like going into a school year being shorthanded on your department. He's got a whole city to look over, so it's kind of a hard. I'm trying to look at both sides of this and balance them out. But as a city councilman, I've also got to look at the budgeting of this item and make sure that we're not going in the hole, even though they're a part of our city and it is taxpayers' dollars. And they're here in our city to protect those children. I need them to be here also to protect the other citizens that have taxpayer dollars involved as well. So I would just like for Hilldale to pay a little bit more money for us to have officers out there for 9 months instead of a 50-50 wash.
Matt, could we move this forward without recommendation to council and address it then and see if the conversation's had?
If I might make another recommendation, just to allow us to take action, if we would amend the motion to authorize the city manager to enter into negotiations with Dr. Cootie, taking your comments into account, and then possibly being able to report next week and take action if we can find an agreement. And if not, then we can move it forward in another direction.
I've got one more comment to add, and I agree with Matt's suggestion. Mr. Hall's observation about finance is a good one, but my primary concern is that we don't have enough policemen on, and that's a big concern to me. I think that going forward, it needs to be made clear that they need to come up with other alternate choices.
And along the comment that the mayor made about them being there for community resources, community police engagement, I think that's a good idea. But at the same time, I know that the chief has said several weeks back that we can't even strengthen our own community policing program at this time because we're so short-staffed. And I know that, at least from the time I've been here, that was one key commitment that we were trying to fulfill with the residents, that we would have a stronger community policing. So I think that community policing will be good in all of our schools, but we still have our own community policing program that's underfunded and understaffed.
Well, we can provide school community policing at schools. The question is they're full-time at Hilldale, and it's really difficult to grow the staff in our own department. We haven't been able. We got over 51,000 calls dispatched through the 911 center last year. That's more than all the other agencies combined, and it is a struggle to maintain the calls for service, provide all of the community policing programs that we want to do, and we really want to grow that because that's the direction that we're going. We're irrevocably, we're committed to it. But my point is that is a very powerful program, and it's going to be needed in the future more than ever. So it is difficult to staff them and do other things. And there is the commitment that we have to the whole city as well, like Councilman Hall was saying.
Matt, you want to restate your comment, and let's see if we can move forward with that.
It would be basically amending the motion, whoever made the motion, to authorize the city manager to enter into negotiations with Hilldale School District and bring back a proposed agreement if one can be found, and if not, then seek direction from council.
I amend my motions, so move.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. Conversation or comment?
Yes, I have some. Couple questions. This time, last Monday night at City Council, I was trying to get the security downstairs, and just like Chief said, you kind of lacking on your police department, but we can go over to the Hilldale and give them help. How much we paying those officers over there?
The portion for us is about $50,000.
$50,000. But we can go over there and give them help, but we can't give our city hall here help. Also, why come they can't get their own private security? Yes, as it was stated to me last Monday night, if I'm not mistaken, that it was just cheaper to get, you can find cheaper security out there. Why come they can't get their own security? The school system, why can't they get their own security instead of having to use our police officers?
I can't speak for them.
It just seems crazy to me. It's in other words, it's a double standard. Y'all treated me different last Monday night, but when it comes to the school system, we got police officers ready that they can do it, full time. But when it's right now, our safety with nobody down at that door is still a factor.
Okay, let's get back to the item we got on hand, which is Hilldale Schools, whether we're going to move that forward or not.
That's my question, Mayor.
Got a motion and a second on the floor.
Motion and a second. Is there further discussion relating to the motion?
That's my discussion. That's what I'm still discussing.
Roll call.
So you shutting me down like that?
You stopped it.
I said I was still discussing, and you shut me down like that?
What do you got to say, sir?
Well, I just think it's wrong. I think, it needs to be, Roy, when you negotiate, you need to ask them why come they can't get their own private security. Because as they said, as we've said up here, it can be done cheaper than $50,000.
I will tell you that part of the relationship of the school resource officer is not simply security. They also want to develop a relationship with the kids, have someone there in case they need to report some bullying issues or other type of issues. So it is a little broader than sitting there reporting any security issues that come in. They do participate, particularly in the elementary school, with the kids. So it's a little bit different in that regard, but I'm happy to have that discussion.
Okay.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Patrick Cale?
Yes.
Marlon Coleman?
Yes.
Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Ivory Van?
Yes.
Derek Reed?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Mayor Coburn?
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 7.
Consider approval to accept the proposal from Ron Drake Consulting for downtown revitalization, and if necessary, direct the city manager to negotiate and execute an agreement for the same or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Well, it's been the direction that staff has been given to try and invest in downtown, trying to encourage growth in downtown. We've seen that already with a couple agenda items tonight, and this is yet another one. During the budgeting process, the council asked us to put money in our economic development budget to perhaps bring in a downtown consultant, someone who's worked with communities in Oklahoma or similar to Muskogee, and had helped them revitalize their downtown. Some of you are familiar with a gentleman who's done that. His name's Ron Drake, and he's presented a proposal to us. He's here tonight, and he can answer some of the questions. His biography is in your packet. He has been a vital part in the re-energization, if that's a word, of downtown in Siloam Springs and in Okmulgee, and those communities speak very highly of his talents. And I think he's had discussions with some of the council members, and you guys have gotten a chance to know him. You ask us to work to put that in the budget and to possibly bring forward a proposal from Mr. Drake for his services, and that's what you have before you. He's here to answer any questions or address his area of expertise and scope of work.
All right. Are there questions or comments?
I just think for the public, or part of the public that may not have had the opportunity that we've had to see that packet, if Mr. Drake could just give us two very brief items that may come from his work for what he's going to do downtown.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, and for the opportunity for the possibility to work here in Muskogee. I'm really excited about it. And so to try to answer your question, you say to kind of give a brief idea of a couple of things that I could do. Coming as a developer turned consultant, I've been right there in the with blood and sweat and tears on some of my own projects and working with other people in a lot of partnerships. And so, some simple things like coming up with funding. We had the idea with the plan, and I'm really excited that you guys are considering IQC with OU. I've had a chance to work with them on a downtown parking study, and so they're an excellent firm. I think you guys are making a good decision, by the way, if I can say that. But for example, when the plan and what it was mentioned about the grocery store downtown. It's easy to put that in a plan and say we have a lot of people and we need a plan, but then the reality is, how do we make that happen? How much is it going to cost? What if the ideal location is a 100-year-old building that when all of us walk through it, or maybe not me because I'm kind of weird in the way I see a building, most people will walk through it and say, well, it's impossible to do it here. I'll break that down. I'll kind of say, if we remove these ceilings and we do this and start throwing some numbers out there and getting some ideas, and what if we add some historic rehabilitation tax credits, which you could get potentially a 40% return on your investment back, and what if we did this and what if we did that, and just a few real-world solutions. The next thing you know, we have a project that most people may think is impossible, and we have $1 million project going on and something that's viable for the downtown. So that's probably one thing. I think it's probably really effective. It's worked well. Is just breaking down, because we can look at what's going on the Shawnee bypass, and it's super impressive. But for 99% of developers, that's something they can grasp. We have raw land. We're going to build a building. We can order a package from over here. And when you walk through historic buildings, it's really difficult for people to grasp how to do that. So simplifying the process is probably one of the things that I'll do well. And then just really just getting down, working with DMI is high on my list. I've been fortunate to help revamp some Main Street organizations from some of the worst to now some of the best. Some of the Main Street directors I've worked with now are some of the best in different states. And so I'm going to work with DMI to help elevate the board. And then I'm going to be kind of, would like to be pretty blunt with you guys too at times. Like, there's some things, guys, I really feel like we need to change, and here's why, and hope to help you identify these reasons. And it's not about money necessarily. It's about policy sometimes, about ordinances, it's different things like that. So basically, I'm just going to get my boots dirty. I'm going to get on the ground. I'm going to try to get to know as many of your downtown merchants and store owners and building owners as possible, and just try to find creative ways and just basically try to get a tidal wave to occur within your downtown, where a building gets refurbished, another one gets refurbished, and something else, and maybe more people living downtown. You have 7,000 people or so that work downtown. Wouldn't it be great if there were some second-story lofts for these people to just, sell one of their cars and get a bike and ride their bike to work? Which that would spark more restaurants and that sort of thing. So I don't know if that answered your question, Director Coleman, but that's kind of an idea. There's not really anybody doing what I'm doing, as far as I know, and so it's difficult to really package what I'm willing to give you. It's basically, I just want to be here, use my expertise, my enthusiasm, and just try my best to help restore your downtown.
With both agenda items on tonight about our downtown, I guess I'm okay to talk about the OU study and you.
Yeah.
That'll benefit what you're looking at as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay. When you did Okmulgee, did the city have to do some incentives downtown?
No, they haven't. Well, the only incentives that Okmulgee did, well, let me answer the question first. The only incentives they did was basically I kind of worked with them on some of the early stages with development to talk about you have an empty building that had maybe one water meter, and now because they want to do 6 lofts, a restaurant, and an office complex and whatever, now we have 9 uses in this building that before was either empty or had 1 use in it. So again, the economic impact is great, but that's a big developer fee to have to go in from the street, cut the sidewalks, do all of this stuff. So we just basically worked with the city to where an if-then scenario. So if someone comes in and pulls the permits and does all that, get their financing, and they're ready to pull the trigger, then the city will help them on maybe their water tap fees, or maybe it's easier for the city or municipality to cut a hole in a street. It's difficult for a contractor to do that with the bonding and all these sorts of things. So maybe there's some partnerships that the city could do. But we're in Okmulgee especially, we're talking about a community that the city didn't have. They just don't have any money. It's a really small budget. So they really couldn't afford to give incentives, even though we're now looking at about $20 million to be invested in downtown Okmulgee. It's kind of one of those things where the city will reap the benefits later. They don't have the money to give it right now. So we just find ways to partner.
Okay. Gary Garvin, you ready?
What?
You ready for all this?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any other comments or discussion?
I got one comment, Mayor. I tell you one thing. I went to Siloam Springs with some of the council, Mr. Johnson and Ms. Langston at the time. I tell you what, you know your stuff.
Thank you,
You
sir.
you are definitely, it's an old saying. You know what a jackleg is, right?
Yeah.
You know what a jackleg is,
Yeah,
right?
I do know what a jackleg is.
Okay,
actually.
well, I tell you what, you fall from any jackleg, you are definitely a craftsman.
Well, thank you,
I mean,
sir.
hey, your work is
I
nice.
had one of my bankers joking with me one time, call me a jackleg. And I said, well, what are you? Because you've loaned me $10 million or something like that. So you must be worse than that. So, but no, I really appreciate that.
You're very
sir.
impressive.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 8.
Consider approval of resolutions declaring certain parcels of property as surplus to the needs of the city and authorize the conveyance of said property or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller, again.
All right, you see on the agenda item the 5 properties that we have. 4 of those are being sold, so we're happy to get some revenue back from those. The 5th one is an incentive property, and they've agreed to acquire the permits necessary and begin construction within the time frame that we've asked them to. This brings the total to 19 properties that we would be getting back onto the tax rolls through this process, and we're excited about that. I'm happy to answer any questions and recommend the approval.
One quick question. What is the incentive time frame? Is it 1 year or 3 years?
The incentive is getting a permit within 1 year and to construct the building within 3 years.
Okay.
Move the
Thank
approval.
Motion?
So is this, sorry guys, is this part of the 54 there or whatever it is we got from the county?
Yes.
So we have 35 left.
My time's on that.
You got time, but you better hurry. All right, thank you.
Second the motion.
You already got
Got a motion and a second? Comment or discussion? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson. Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 9.
Consider approval of an amended affirmative action plan of the City of Muskogee, Oklahoma for fiscal year 2016-2017, Council Policy 3-1-1, or take other necessary action.
Kelly Plunkett.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this is our annual update on the Affirmative Action Plan. In addition to the annual update of the committee and the statistical data in this policy, we have also included this year numerous new and already in place but now written and documented strategies for recruitment for the police department, the fire department, the human resources department, and we also have written information in here on our internship program and a new program that I will be speaking to you at City Council about called Getting to Work. These are all, again, some new recruitment strategies, some that are already in place but that we're documenting. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding those, and I would recommend approval.
Other questions or comments?
Move the approval.
And a motion?
I'll second it.
And a second? Any comments? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. We'll now go to our special call council meeting.
Recognize citizens.
I'm sorry?
Recognize
Oops,
citizens.
sorry.
And our clock is broke, so I'm going to be using this.
Oh, okay. We had a couple people sign up to speak. Oscar Ray, AKA Bass Reeves, signed up. If you'd give us your name and your address, sir, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Council. My name is Oscar Ray. I'm at 735 Terrace Boulevard, or street, or it keeps changing. Wanted to say thank you to the council and to PublicWorks for you guys putting together the Bass Reeves signs. We really appreciate that, and that's why we're here tonight, to kind of thank you guys for that. It's outstanding that happened so quick, but I don't think we're quite ready for it. As you guys know, the Bass Reeves Legacy Tour was an incredible success this year. Folks came from a long ways, and so I want to thank you for your support for that event. And want to make a couple quick presentations. One of the folks who in our troupe, by the way, that's a reenactor like I am today is City Councilman Marlon Coleman, and this is for you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
So we brought that. And also wanted to thank you, the mayor, and Councilman Van, and Derek Reed, Councilman Reed, for the input that you guys gave in helping to make that sign happen. It was so quick, and again, we appreciate it. So my wife would like to get a picture of you guys with these things right quick, and then I'm a done deal. Oh, and we have part of the Legacy Troop here tonight. If you guys meet, these guys help to reenact, brings mystery back to the city of Muskogee. One thing I would like to mention real fast, most of you may not know this, but Muskogee's history is incredibly unique, and some of it we've forgotten. And we are really working hard to put a face on that, whether it's on Bass Reeves or the Native American population that was here and the people who've contributed. Some of these folks are world famous, but our citizens don't even know what they look like. So we're working to change that. So as time goes by, we're going to try and have it so that you guys would like to see pictures of those people, and their stories will be told not just here but everywhere. And we started with Bass Reeves because he's become the most famous, and since they make a movie about this guy, and he's one of the incredible citizens, and because Muskogee has 6 different law enforcement agencies here that are kind of unsung, and so we want to definitely put a spotlight on that as well. So if you guys will allow us to take a quick picture with you guys, and we'll be out of your hair.
Come on, what do we need to do?
I need you guys, you and you for sure. Okay. And this is them, and then. And thank you. You guys were outstanding. And of course, this gentleman here was just wow. Yes, sir. And
I was just thinking, Kelvin Brown, there's a resemblance. I'm just thinking.
Get a little bit closer.
I wonder what the white hat.
Tighter.
Kelvin, what does the white hat mean?
it's the only one I had.
All right, I think I got you good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Gordon back here, his crew's mates.
Oscar, thank you all. You all have done a great job in bringing the awareness level up for our community, and we're grateful for that. Thank you. Mr. Van, you had signed up to speak, sir.
Ivor Van, 911 Holden, Muskogee, Oklahoma. I tried to speak last Monday night, but I was shut down. So what I'm going to say today was the reason I couldn't speak Monday night because I had to go do some city council business before the meeting, and two councilmen voted that I speak, and the other ones didn't. So this is all I was going to say that night. This should be recognized. Sally Ballpark was in Midland Valley and at Robertson Park. That was part of Robertson Park. And before that began, me and the ladies at the library done the history of Sally Ballpark and Mr. Robertson. I had a photo of the little boy, everything. And, you know, just see how good God is, see how Mr. Marshall come along and bless us with a nice statue out there at Hatbox. Well, that was part of it. And I also want to give a special thank you to the Marshall family and a very, very special thank you to Mr. Patrick Kale. Mr. Kale he volunteered and purchased that memorial, what do you call that? Pedestal. He donated that. That was his money. He donated that. So when I came back off from North Carolina, I called the Marshall family and I thanked them. And I talked to Mr. Marshall several times on the phone before he even came down. He was interested in meeting me and I was interested in meeting him. So next time he says he comes back to Muskogee, Oklahoma, he's going to look me up. And I'm looking forward to meeting him. But again, I'd like to just say thank you, Mr. Kale, for what you did, and also the Marshall family. And also this past week, I'd like to thank all the volunteers, the Red Cross. I went down to the Civic Center and met with them, and just thank everybody from the city, all the workers that helped on this disaster, just everybody. It's hard to call names because you're gonna miss somebody. But I'd just like to say thank you to everybody that helps get our citizens. OG&E, went out there and talked to Mr. Rubin. He showed me his, the station, how they do things, and just everybody that helped in this disaster, in the council. So basically that's what I wanted to say last Monday night before I was shut down. But I got to say it now. You can shut me down again, but I tell you what, it's always Tuesday comes, and I'm going to say what I'm going to say. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will now move to our agenda for the special call meeting of the Muskogee City Council. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Gully. Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson. Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Item number 1.
Consider approval of a resolution authorizing a partnership agreement between the City of Muskogee, Desire to Change, and the Gospel Rescue Mission for implementation of a pilot program called Getting to Work for fiscal year 2016-2017, and authorizing the city manager or designee to execute the agreement or take other necessary action.
Mr. Coleman.
In brief, this resolution almost parallels the one that we passed several years back when we agreed to be partners with the Bridges Out of Poverty program to work on issues of poverty as a city. We passed a resolution which was one of the first resolutions in the city or in the nation, the way Tom Martindale explained it. And so we want to now take this to the next level with the resolution in support of the Getting to Work program. Recidivism is one of the issues that they challenge, and what recidivism does is creates a culture where fathers cannot be providers, mothers are separated from their children, and communities struggle to create and sustain a vibrant and work-ready workforce. And what we believe we can do as a city is combat that terrible problem by passing and adopting this Getting to Work resolution. In our city, as well as in our county right now, we see a vicious cycle of individuals with felonies who come from having already done their time or their restitution, where they're already marked as a felon. They have a fine system that they have to participate in, but what they don't have is meaningful income. And by not having meaningful income, they're kept in a system that keeps them penalized and sometimes makes them repeat offenders. What the Getting to Work program will do is attempt to combat that as a city and set the standard not only for our residents, but for maybe our county as well as for local businesses. This will be a partnership between the Gospel Rescue Mission, the Desire to Change entity, and Bridges Out of Poverty here in the city of Muskogee. It will provide up to 20 positions within the city for full-time employment for such individuals who need the assistance but who otherwise may not be able to get it from private industry. It's specifically geared to non-violent felony convictions. Gospel Rescue Mission, for their part, will provide leadership for that program and work closely with our city manager and human resources department. They will also provide pre-employment drug screenings, appropriate clothing to work, and food baskets, because many of the individuals who are seeking employment, when they are in this situation, coming out of the system as a non-violent felon, they don't have the tools that they need to get the job. Many times, people will say, well, they should just get a job, but it's hard to get a job if you can't play the role that's expected to you for you to play, from a position of being able to just have something as simple as the proper shoes. Desire to change will mentor the individuals to help them to succeed with their jobs. And the Bridges Out of Poverty program, after talking with Ms. Lynch on today, can serve as a feeder program to do other areas that these two programs cannot do. So it won't be a duplication of effort. They'll all be working together in sync. I think this is a really good program. We have two individuals here on tonight, Mr. Rick Schaus and Mr. Timothy Taylor, who can speak to any questions that may be asked, but I'm going to ask that the council support this resolution, because what the resolution does is basically say that the city will partner and do their due diligence to be certain that the positions are available to the qualified individuals who may meet the qualifications that we're going to be ready to offer through employment. And I think Kelly had also had some other information that she would present either by question, or she may have some direct comments that need to be made about the resolution, how it would work. And I would recommend approval.
Okay, we've got a motion then?
That was a motion.
Well,
I second it.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Is there comment or discussion? Questions to ask Rich or Timothy or Kelly?
Well, really, what we're looking to do is create stability. And just to keep it simple, that's our objective, that these men and women who are coming out of our prison system would develop stability. And they're going to do that through a job, not through taxpayer funds, direct funds, like a welfare sort of program. They're going to work, and they're going to work hard. And when they're falling short, you'll have somebody to call and say, hey, Timothy, can you talk to them about their lack of work performance, and pick it back up before they lose their job and then end up not paying their fines and going back to jail. We're trying to keep people back on the streets, taxpayers, doing the right jobs.
And you made a key comment, because I think what a lot of people miss in the conversation is that these individuals are not necessarily looking for a handout. They really do want to work. They want the opportunity to be able to stand on their feet. Fathers want to be able to look in their child's face and say, nobody gave me something for you, I provided for you. And mothers want the opportunity to say that they've not been separated from their children. And if I was, now I can have the opportunity to prove to myself and to my kids, without state or federal assistance, that I can be the mother that God created me to be.
Will there be a component from either of the organizations that will reach out to business owners to try to help find employment for those felons?
This program now specifically works with the city, but what I hope will happen from this resolution within whatever the designated time frame is, we could review, I hope that we could use it as a selling point to industry to say the city was able to do it without having any problems, and the problems that we had, because we had a team of support, we were able to address them very quickly and very satisfactorily. And I appreciate you raising that question, because one of the concerns always is, and I hear this so much, and I just can't imagine that it's so rampant the way it is, that most companies, regardless of the type of felony, just because you have a felony, they assume that you're not fit for work. And so we want to be able to say to those industries and those organizations, look, we've got the proof that shows these nonviolent felons can actually be productive in the community. They can actually develop a trade or a job set with the city that they can use to pad their resume for other work down the line.
Yes.
So one of the services that Desire to Change already offer is I'm already in the community looking for work with businesses that's already established to hire the clients that I already work with. So this would definitely be a well-needed open door.
Timothy works very closely with Bridges and worked side by side with Tom Martindale, now works with Treasurer McKenzie, who's the new director of Bridges, and is involved in our community.
And another component of this is they will be doing the Bridges program that's specifically designed for those who have felonies. So it does everything that Bridges does, plus adds a couple factors dealing with resources that are only significant for those who have felonies.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Other comments or discussion?
Thank you, Councilman Coleman, and thank you to the Gospel Rescue Mission. I think y'all do a wonderful, wonderful job here in the city of Muskogee, because I've had to come to y'all quite a few times myself, for different people, and y'all always there for me. And like I say, I seen a news article the other night on this same issue on TV. You know, everybody deserves, we all do wrong. Like, we're just human. But people need a second chance to get back out, and hey, improve themselves. And so I commend you.
Tia, I remember when you started this project and you came and talked to me and everything, and I was like, man, he's carrying a lot of weight on his shoulders. And you started out with just a word and just yourself running around to everybody trying to get them off the ground. I'm glad you got hooked up with the right people to get you set up with this and taking everything off. This is a big load on your shoulders, and you look like you got broad enough shoulders to handle it.
I can, and I am really thankful to the governing body of the city of Muskogee, my mayor, Mr. Tucker, Pastor Coleman, city councilman, Mr. Van, all of you. I'm really thankful for the opportunities that I've been given in Muskogee, because I am a felon, but I was able to come to Muskogee and take my determination and doors that was opened by me being willing to try and extend this program. And I am thankful to you very much so, Mr. Hall, for the advice that you've given me and the relationship that you've had with me since I was about 13 years old.
Shh, we don't need to go there now.
Oh, that was only 5 years ago, right?
Now he's old enough, Timothy, to be your grandfather.
I tried to help you, Dan. I tried to help you.
Other comments or discussion? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Most definitely.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 2.
Discuss and take possible action relating to the city's response to the violent windstorm of July 14, 2016.
Mr. Miller, you are up again.
Excuse me, last Thursday I was out of town at a training, and suddenly I started hearing something odd was going on in Muskogee, and so I called back and found out people were hiding and taking shelter, and there was, as you guys know, and probably you were all here and experienced it firsthand. So I got a hold of Roy, and I said, what can I do? And he said, everybody's doing everything they can. Keep getting your training. And I said, okay. Well, the next morning I found out even more about how bad it had been, and I came hurrying back. But what I found out was Roy was right. There wasn't a lot that I could do to help, but there was a whole lot going on, and hundreds of city employees were doing everything they could to help all through the day, all through the night, in all kinds of conditions to help this city recover from an unexpected and violent storm. And there's, this working for the city sometimes is a thankless job. And I wanted you guys to have the opportunity to hear what some of your employees did over the last week or so. And so police chief, fire chief, public works director, they're going to come up and share just a couple of quick stories. And then we're going to talk about our next steps as a city as well. But I'd like to ask if Mike Stewart wouldn't mind starting off, and he can go from there. But just to let you guys know what went into trying to get this city back where it is today.
It is kind of hard for me to discuss with you what the Public Works employees do without getting emotional, because it's a point of pride for me when I watch how they operate under stress. And when there's something happening like that in the community, they work and they all come together. When you have the sanitation workers out there helping move trees, and all of them, all my supervisors and foremen are all coordinating. David Garner's here. I didn't realize he was going to stay this long, but he deserves a huge pat. He worked, I don't know how many hours. We moved trees. We dealt with traffic situations. We had trash cans blown every which direction. We were coordinating with OG&E. We went to the Incident Command Center. Nan, my secretary, actually went down there and fielded phone calls. We were working with the garage to help get fueling going. It's just, again, I'm very proud of all my employees. And there's no way that I could sit here and thank them all without missing some of them. But you just have to realize what you have out there. You have employees that care about their community, and they all pitch in and will go above and beyond. Again, just huge sense of pride. We always take note in what we can do better, and we can do better. With your support, we were talking about some of the things that would help us. We got swamped in traffic. All the signal lights went down pretty much at once, and we don't have that much on hand in our warehouse with stop signs and stop aheads and flashers and when you think of barricades, a type 1 is a single bar, type 2 is 2, and type 3 is the great big 3-barred barricade. But we don't have enough to cover the areas that we covered, and I've been talking with Roy about what we saw that would assist our employees. Our employees did a great job with what they had, but we need to give them some more support, and we need to look at stuff like a contract with some of our local signage companies on what they could do to assist. We reached out to the highway department to get stop signs out on the highway system, because when the power went down everywhere. We had Hancock out in 69 highway. We had York and Chandler out, and a lot of these signals run off battery backup, if you didn't know that. But battery backup system will only work so long if it's fully operational. So, we need some new equipment to help detect those batteries, making sure they're up fully charged. We just saw a lot of things, but still yet, they did a super job.
Great job. Chiefs?
I got a call from Assistant Chief Farmer last Thursday about, it's close to 1 o'clock, and he said that he needed to go to the Emergency Management Center. Director Bolding was in a training class and wasn't there, and we needed to open up the Emergency Operations Center for the storms that were coming. About 30 minutes later, he called and said, we're looking at some very high winds, winds in excess of 100 miles an hour, so we need to go ahead and open up the Incident Command Center. We did. We had, in addition to Mike's group, we had Nan there, we had the hospital people there, we had ambulance there, of course fire was there, the 911 center itself, the employees, and it didn't just stop at the employees. There was a lot of effort on the citizens, because we were, those winds that hit on Shawnee were somewhere between 110, 114 miles an hour. We sound those sirens when the straight winds hit 70 miles an hour. And those are hard to hear when you have that kind of roar and the problems that we had. But the Incident Command Center was set up. OG&E was there. It was, everybody was working to make sure that the citizens were safe as much as we could. The damage on Shawnee, the structure on North York, we had OHP helping us on that too. So it really was a city effort in terms of employees and community effort too, because the lights that went down, I can't think of any major accidents that happened, but there was a tremendous amount of loss of energy, which really could have impacted us in a lot different ways had we not had the groups working so efficiently to get the streets cleared, to get intersections set up so that there were four-way stop signs, to have people there to, in case there were injuries or, when the roof on Hobby Lobby I mean, that came out. That was something that was very concerning. But with all the people there in place to respond to that, luckily it wasn't the kind of situation where there was a lot of injury or loss of life. So I really appreciate everybody's effort, and I thought it was really well handled. I compliment my staff. I think they did a great job. Chief Odell, I think the emergency rescue people, can't say enough about Mike. Nan was there to coordinate any incidents that the street department could do. So it was really a community effort, and it went beyond just the employees and into the community because of the kind of damage, and people were doing things to help other people. So I thought it was handled really well.
Do we have a designated list of storm shelters? Because I kept getting questions from people about where they should go, and I didn't know what to even tell them.
No, we've been asked that question before, and we actually don't, because you would have to have so many in order to accommodate the way the community is spread out. So we don't have designated shelters, but we do have training and education that teach people what to do in types of storm. And I think that I've never seen winds like that before. I mean, that's something that was very unique to see those kinds of winds and how it just swept down Shawnee. The damage that started at Mazzio's, the Kurtz, Hobby Lobby,
Bacon Housing.
Yes, Bacon Inn, the furniture store down the road, and those railroad tracks right in front of Acme. Those that power line went down, and that really caused some problems on York Street, but luckily that was right by headquarters for OHP, so they had a unit there that was controlling traffic for us. But we had a lot of people working and doing it, and it managed the situation very well, I thought. So my compliments to everybody.
Well, there's not much else I can say after that. Those guys kind of summed it up. It was really cool to be there at the Incident Command Center and watch the way it worked. Mike Ruby from OG&E, he was such a help. If my guys called me and said, I need OG&E here, I said it to him, and they were there. Kind of like Mike, I'm a little emotional about it. It was pretty proud of my guys. They did a great job. We responded to more calls in 24 hours than we do in a normal week. So it was pretty intense. We had, you probably saw it on the news on Hancock where the power lines fell. There was 2 cars trapped in between the power lines, and the captain on Engine 6 was able to relay to me on cell phone to get to the dispatch and contact those people by cell phone and tell them not to get out of their vehicles, because he could see they were wanting to get out. And you could tell by the tone in his voice he was pretty shook up. But proud of them. They did a good job. All of them did a great job.
Please join me in a standing ovation for the staff of the City of Muskogee and the responders. That concludes our agenda.
Well,
Mr.
before
Tucker.
I think Mr. Miller wants to talk about the money, but before that, I want to say a couple of things. City manager, this is the first major incident that I've been involved in, and the city manager has 3 crucially important responsibilities. The first, get out of the way and stay out of the way. The second is trust your department heads who know what they're doing. And you know, when this happened, and I got the call from Deputy Chief Farmer, and when I talked with Mr. Stewart and Chief Odell, who also called, I wasn't concerned about anything at all, because I knew that they knew what they were doing, which was it's just an incredible feeling to know that you're there to support them when they call and say, here's what I need, will you approve it? And so, second thing, of course, is to trust my heads, and my third thing is to coordinate with you all. So all those text messages that you received, I want to give a shout out to Kimbra Scott, who also received those text messages and put them on our Facebook page. so that all of our citizens who follow us could see in real time what was going on as it was occurring. So she was not here. Luckily, she was somewhere else, but because of the way communications work, I was able to get her the same information, and she was able to post it in real time so that people would know what's going on. So she did a tremendous job in communicating, and so I wanted to make sure that she had an appropriate level of thanks too. So those are the only things that I wanted to just bring up to you all. So thank you all for your support of our staff and of us.
Yeah, so moving forward, we do still have the limb drop off through the end of the week, through Saturday, is that correct?
Sunday.
Through Sunday. So communicate
7 a.m., 4 p.m.?
7 to 4.
7 to 4, okay.
And so
Be there by 4 and you'll be able to dump.
And you need your water bill.
Or driver's license.
Okay, I already been there.
And so, so as we think about this, we do know that we spent a lot of time doing what had to be done. And the good thing is that we budget for emergencies in our budget. We've got a reserve that is available. As we move forward in the future, we'll figure out if this is something that we can get emergency assistance from the federal government to try and reimburse us for all those costs because of this natural disaster that hit us. But if not, we've got our reserves that you guys have budgeted for us to use for something like this moving forward. But we're in the process, and it's still ongoing, figuring out how we're going to pay or how much it's going to cost. But it was never a thought of whether we do it or not, or whether we have the money to do it, because we have the reserve you guys have established. So I just want to say, moving forward, we may talk more about that. We don't have any details or specifics now about what the fiscal impact will be. But I wanted to make sure we acknowledge, number one, the incredible work that our staff did for hours and days on end, and acknowledge that we do have some work left to do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And that concludes our agenda.
Can I be
Yes.
recognized for just about 2 minutes?
Can you what?
Can I be recognized for about 2 minutes on this discussion?
Yes, sir.
First of all, in this incident, no one got hurt, correct? There was no one got hurt.
None of the city employees did. In the community, I don't know.
I'm not
Chief.
aware of
Yeah.
any bodily injury.
Okay, that's one thing. To God be the glory. Nobody got hurt. That's the number one thing right there. Second of all, we have two things I see here in Muskogee for prevention. That we was in that ice storm in 2007. A lot of times nowadays, what's happening is I've talked to Mr. Ruby about it also, and I've talked to the tree companies about it. The tree companies are not going around trimming these lines like they should, off these power lines. They're not doing that. And at one time, we had a certain person, I'm calling their name, and they said, reason they're not doing that is because a certain person, they complained about it was making the lines, the trees look bad. I'd rather for the trees to look bad than have all the trees falling on the lines. Number 3, it's been a while back, probably a couple of years ago, it was when Mr. Moore, the other manager, emergency manager, he had a program along with the county, and that was the best program the city of Muskogee ever had, was you could get a storm cellar, and you apply for it, but you'd have to pay it up front. So I think it went through the state, Roy. You might check.
It did go through the state.
I tell you what, that was one of the best programs for every citizen here in Muskogee. And you had only about 35 people that signed up. You could go to the bank and get the money, and then hey, the state would repay it. So I think you need to check into that again and see, because after these disasters, things like that, I've talked to people in Oklahoma City about it. Things after the disaster happens, these things come available. So I think,
FEMA, yes.
Yeah, so I think you need to check into that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. That concludes our agenda. Thank you.